let's get into some fan questions. First one.
Hi, Chael. A bit of a long-winded question. Why do you think that Joe Rogan and Brendan Sharp think it was okay for Joe Rogan on live TV to say that Kobe Covington only talks smack to get your ticket sales and more views? How do they not think it was damaging? Yes, Conor McGregor draws in casual fans because he's outgoing. He talks a lot of smack. He backs it up. That's because it's real and people want to see that. Why say when all the casual fans have tuned in to watch Kobe Covington because they've seen all these interviews to then say, oh, by the way, it wasn't real? That's going to make people, not watch the program. They're going to think, oh, this is WWE stuff. I just want your opinion on it, basically. Big fan of the show.
I had that same opinion as you did. And I was so mad. I was so mad for the same reasons that you were, where it's like, hey, if Colby's working an angle, the only one that should out Colby on his angle is Colby when he's ready to do it. When he's ready to adjust the character and make a little bit of a turn, one way or the other, to go deeper down the road he's going or start to come back and start to win people over. That should be Colby. And I agree with you. I didn't think that anybody else should be outing him. I would feel you have an obligation to protect the business, particularly if you're in the business. And I talked to Joe about that. We had a conversation, and he said, Chael, you're misinterpreting what I meant by that. He said, I'm a comedian. I go on stage all the time. And he said, but I'm not tied ideologically to the comments I make. I'm joking. And I let the audience know that I'm joking. And the audience then appreciates the humor and is able to laugh at it more and come back again the next night because now they're part of it. And he said, Colby's done a great job of letting the audience in on the gag, that he's just out there performing. This was Joe's interpretation of the performance that he saw by Colby. That won me over in many ways. On a personal level, it won me over to Joe completely. Okay, look, he wasn't out trying to out the guy. He was trying to bring him in a world that Joe knows and that Joe has succeeded in, so he was trying to help him. Great, I appreciate it. But I do also hear what you're saying. And that's the school that I come from, which is a guy gets to stick with a character forever. And you don't ever get to out him. Unless unless the guy told you to. The guy has to give it up himself, right? The guy has the right to the character and the gimmick. And if he's selling out arenas, that's for him. That's for him to control. And somebody within the business should not expose the business. I hear what you're saying, because I'm saying it too. But I think that Joe made a fair point, at least in what his thought and his perception was. He wasn't doing it to damage Colby. He thought letting everybody in on it, letting everybody go, hey, this is just a character, sit back and enjoy it like you do any other TV show. He thought it would be beneficial. And for a guy who's had as much success in the world of entertainment as Joe has, he's got a right to that opinion.
My question for you today, though, is what side of the sport did you enjoy more? Did you enjoy more of the fighting and training aspect or more of the commentary and theatrics of it all? Love your show, and thank you for having us.
Oh, real easy for me. Without question, I enjoyed the competition side of it. And I might have been responsible for creating the entertainment era, but I am a total hypocrite to the entertainment era. That's not what I liked. That's never what I enjoyed. That's not what I tuned in for. I enjoyed the atmosphere. I enjoyed the limitations to the rules. I enjoyed the heart and the grit and the toughness and the sacrifice. I enjoyed all the variables and how, in many ways, there was to win and succeed. I really enjoyed the competition. And that's still what I largely enjoy and prefer. But it is a very unique sport in that the schedules are not set ahead of time, like baseball or football or basketball, where the seasons are drawn up ahead of time. It's not like that. So you do have an opportunity for drama and an opportunity for storylines, which is very rare within sport. So with this sport, I don't think we need to veer away from that. We need to recognize it, recognize why it exists, and see how it can be helpful to one's career. So I do appreciate when guys come out and do that. But to answer your question, I am a bit of a hypocrite about it because it's not what I personally prefer to see.
Chael, just because you've retired from the cage, I know that doesn't mean that your competitive fire is gone. So what's next? Are you going to take grappling to the most extreme level, gi, no gi, try and get into ADCCs and Polaris and all those competitions? Or is there something else that you'd really like to get into? Maybe master swimming, prove that you're the best in the world? Thanks, brother.
Yeah, that sure is true, and that's not just unique for me. You know, it's a very hard thing when there's only one life that you know. In this case, for me, to your question, Kevin, is competition. Going out and compete, waking up every day, having a goal, having a deadline, something you're working for, somebody you're trying to outdo and outperform. It's very interesting. So I don't know because there's another side to it. As much as you have that competitive spirit, there is another side that eventually you fire your last bullet. And I philosophized on this a lot. And there was a lot of guys that I knew growing up that were undefeated, 4-time state champions, undefeated national champions. They go into college, have an undefeated season or two, win the NCAA tournament, go make an Olympic team. I mean, athletes to the highest of levels. But Kevin, they all have one thing in common. Not a single one of them ever competed a day after the age of 27. Not one. And that's the extreme end. Most of them did not compete a day after 23. The biggest studs, the most successful, unbeaten, perfect hammers that I knew, they've only got so many bullets. There's only so many times you can get it up. There's only so many times that you can prepare. There's only so many times that you can dig deep. And if you fire all of those bullets by 23, you're going to have a great resume, but you're going to be done. It's just one of those things, right? It's one of those things. However, everybody is done at some point, whether you want to be or not. It's a lot like Hollywood. You're never done with the business, but one day you will wake up and the business will be done with you. And as far as you mentioned the swimming, and that's a little bit of insider baseball here. But to answer your question for many of the fans who haven't seen, I've recently joined a club. It's a tennis club. I don't know how to play tennis. My wife and I joined. We don't even have tennis rackets, but it also has a swimming pool. And it's a very nice place to go and hang out in the summertime, have access to a pool. Well, there's a guy at the club who does competitive swimming competitions. Now, he could not touch me in a race. He could not go with me in the least. You would have to bring in an NCAA champion or Olympic qualifier to go head-to-head with me in a swimming pool. Joel went and started a little something with this guy who's like the national champion for his age group. He's 40 years old. I'm sure he's a very nice guy. I'm sure he's a very good swimmer. For the old men's group, it's just one of these really tough spots because I don't want to go to this club and all of a sudden, point my finger in this guy's chest. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I'm the fastest swimmer at the club. I don't have to prove that, but it sounds as though because of Joel and because of communicating with this guy, that maybe I'm going to have to prove it, which I'm more than happy to do. But to try to explain why this is silly and that if you have a reputation and you're known as the swimmer, it's best to just stay clear of me. First off, let's just start at the very beginning here, okay? How do I want to begin? As a fighter, we will go and swim as a warm-up. If I was going to go to fight practice, many times this has happened. Hey, you got fight practice at 4 o'clock. Meet in the pool at 3. We're going to do an hour of aquatics to warm up. So if this is his finished product and his final sport, that's tough for me to respect. Why don't you just go major in calisthenics, in jumping jack? It's a warm-up. There's never been a swimmer ever that goes in and spars as a way to prepare for his competition. Swimming, it's a warm-up. People go on vacation to swim. I just went and joined a club so that I could swim. That's not hard. Come on, right? Also, so when I'm dealing with this, Joel's asking me, well, how fast can you swim? Because what I do, Kevin, is I swim one length. I jump in, first one to the other end. I don't care how big the pool is. I don't give a damn. It could be a backyard pool, It could be a pool like they're calling 100 yards or 100 meters. I don't give a damn. Be 300, 400. I don't know anything about that. I just go one direction. That's all I know. I don't have good turns. I'm not trained in turns. But you have to understand, when I was 8 years old, my family went to San Francisco on like a vacation, and we went and visited Alcatraz. Now, when we were at Alcatraz, they had made a comment that nobody could ever escape Alcatraz because no one could swim that ocean. I was 8 years old, and I took that as a challenge. I could swim this. Right now, I could do it. Oh, no, you could. The water's cold, and it's choppy, and it's too far, and there's shark, all these different things. I don't care. That's how I did my training. So I don't turn back. I don't do turns. It's one way to get off the rock. That's what I prepared for. I've trained to swim through the currents, swim the cold, to deal with sharks if they're coming at me. Joel wants to put me up there with a 40-year-old man. Shows up wearing goggles. I don't wear goggles. They don't have goggles in Alcatraz. Okay? He wants to get in a chlorinated pool that people are paying hundreds of dollars a month to come and sit by as they eat a French fry and a club sandwich. I'm training to get off the rock. Joel wants to talk about, can you get to the other end in 11 seconds? Joel, I don't train for time. I train to beat the guy next to me, and I have never lost. I prepared to get away from sharks in the dark of night. I don't care about, can I get there in 11 seconds? You know how quick I'll get there? Faster than that guy.
Hey Chael, big fan from the UK. I was just wondering, how's the transition been for you from fighter to be a media presenter? As we know, you've got a lot of big jobs like ESPN, and do you think fighters need more help when they retire? Thanks.
The transition for me, and I don't expect anybody to feel bad for me, and I don't even feel bad for myself. Just to get that out of the way. These are not real world problems, right? A guy got to play a game until he was 42 years old. Now he can't play the game anymore. These aren't real people problems. But it is the life that I knew. And it wasn't just about going out and competing. There was a lifestyle behind it. There was a discipline. There was a time you had to be in bed, a time you had to be up in the morning. There was things you had to do throughout the day, and there was a structure involved, all the way down to what you could eat and what you could not eat. So when those things, when one goes away, they all go away. You don't have to be on a diet because there is no more weigh-ins. There's no more weigh-ins because there's no more competitions. If there's not competition, what are you doing at practice? And if you are at practice, how hard are you going to work if you don't have to? Domino effect, right? So a lot of things get affected. So for me, I think for everybody, but I'll just speak for myself. Yeah, it was tough. The transition was tough. You also ask a very good question. Do fighters need help on what they can do after fighting? That's a tough one, right? Because for any athlete, and it's not just for, we're just talking fighters now, but that is a tough one because your resume is not all that impressive if you're 35 or 36 years old, and the only thing you put on there is that you've been fighting. It's not all that impressive. You're in a little bit of a tough spot. There are some major opportunities, though, for athletes, and a lot of it has to do simply with social media. But every day that you're fighting and you're competing, you should be building that social media. And that may sound simple, but that is something you can take with you for life. And if you can get that number high enough and you can interact and you can have a market, those are things that you can monetize and those are things that you can use. And that is something very small, but I don't think that fighters understand how valuable that is. And if you got, it doesn't matter whether it's Bellator or the UFC or ONE FC or the WEC, it doesn't matter who it is. They'll help you build it. And it can be extremely helpful. And that's just one example. But there's things that fighters can do to help to prepare for that day when they're not out there competing. If I was to just give one piece of advice, I would say take your social media very seriously.
Chael, what I want to know is, what's your favourite English food?
What is my favorite English food? I must tell you, I have largely struck out every time I've been in England. I really have. Fish and chips are good over there. Quite frankly, I think you're a little overrated because I find it bland. I don't think you guys use enough salt. I like putting the vinegar on there. I like dipping the tartar sauce. I got no problem with it, but I got to pour salt on it. I think it's a little bland. Also, the breakfast, not for nothing. I think your bacon's incredible. I think it's a little weird that you eat beans in the morning. I just do. You want to know what I have really enjoyed in my time in England, though? Your guys' version of Italian food. I feel like you nail it. I feel like your pastas and your meats and your cheeses and your sauces, it's as good as being in Italy. So I know that's a weird answer to say the food that I like most while in England is Italian food, but I think your guys' interpretation of good Italian food, I think you knock it out of the park.
Hey Chael, so my question is, have you ever been to Ireland, and if so, what did you think of it? And if you haven't been, would you ever consider going, or have you any plans to?
I have never been to Ireland. I think you asked what do I think of it. I've never been to Ireland. I can tell you this, though. I was at Diaz McGregor Part 1. So all these Irish fans is my point. And they're partying and they're hooping and they're hollering. They've taken over the casino. They are the nicest. They are the most passionate. They're completely loyal to their guy publicly at the arena, right? They're chanting. They got all this stuff for their guy. When you meet them, though, when they're out, they don't give a damn who you. It could be your opponent. It could be that guy's team. They are the night. They want a picture. They want to say hello. They'll buy you a drink. Just really nice group. And that was kind of everybody's sense. I mean, they take over the casino like it's like, whoa, some rough-looking guys. Nah, you get over by them. These guys they knew what was going on. They knew what time it was. They knew who was coming up. They were a very educated fan. I mean, Ireland's really, and they've largely just got the one gym, right? Coach Kavanagh and the Straight Blast Gym. They've taken over. I mean, they've inserted themselves in every organization to the highest of levels. So my interpretation of Ireland, or my opinion, I would love to go. I've never been. But I'm extending that for you maybe to mean, what do I think about what I know of the Irish folks, the Irish fight fans? Man, I've only had good experiences.